Welcome back to the Card Pool. I'm Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And today we're doing a quick magic moment, and what this means is we're going to talk about something we want to talk about, magic-related stuff.
Yeah, so what are we talking about today?
So today we made our own list, 3 apiece for each one of us, of cycles that we want to see finished. Now what this means, it's not blocks or anything else like this, but it can be any type of thing where it's like they've touched on it a brief moment, but they didn't do it for all color pairings or anything else for like this. Like it's like Wizards' half-attempted homework.
Yeah, we're thinking of cards like the Confluence cycle, like Mystic Confluence, Fiery Confluence, the swords, Sword of Fire and Ice,
and we
Sword
almost
of Feast and Famine.
did the swords, but then we got more of them in Modern Horizons, so they did kind of touch back on them, otherwise that probably would have been on the list.
Yeah.
But things that we haven't seen, like, pretty close to at all. So...
yeah, and some of these are kind of debatable as to whether or not they're supposed to be cycles, but still, a guy can dream. So I wanted to talk about at least some of these, just because I thought they were
and
cool. I'm
can
sure
dream.
you feel the same.
Yeah. So Kyle's going to start us off on number 3, because he is very opinionated.
All right.
What do you got for us?
Okay, well, number 3 on my finish the cycle list, I'm going to go with the Angels of Innistrad. And what I mean by that is that we know that there are 4 known angels on Innistrad, right? There was Avacyn, which was the mono white angel, who is now dead story-wise, but whatever.
Whoa.
So there's also
you don't just drop that out like that. You got to say spoiler.
All right, well,
real
whatever.
fast. You don't know everything about Avacyn.
But there is also
was
also the blue-white Bruna, the green-white Sigarda, and then the red-white Gisela, who we couldn't picture here. But there are 3 of those angel sisters.
Sure.
Now, if you go back in the lore, there was a 4th angel sister, because what's the only color pairing that's missing here?
5th, because of Avacyn's one.
Well, Avacyn isn't really technically a sister. She's not related to the other 3.
Oh, because Soren created her.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what color pairing is missing?
Black.
Exactly, white-black. There was a 4th angel sister on Innistrad who represented white and black mana, and according to the lore, Avacyn killed her off and her entire flock of angels because they were aligned with black mana.
Would it be a flock?
They call them flights, I think, technically. But anyway, there is supposedly this so-called nameless angel from Innistrad, who is the white-black legendary Innistrad angel. I'm really, really hoping we get that card at some point. I know a lot of people out there are as well.
It has a flavor for the lore.
Yeah.
I could see that.
It's one of those things, though, that it's certainly not going to come back up in any, a cumulative set, I don't think.
Probably.
But it could come back in a special product like this upcoming December Commander Legends that they're going to come out with. I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that our nameless angel is going to be in there.
Could be, yeah, because if they're going ahead, instead of making some sort of random legends or something like that, something that's already utilized, a lot of people have been screaming at them, follow the lore, these are things we like.
And what would this card be all about? I don't know, because the 3 angel sisters that exist are so diverse in their abilities. I don't really know what the 4th one would be like, but it's a cool possibility, and I know a lot of fans have been talking about this one forever, so I wanted to make sure that I brought it up.
Well, also, we could possibly see it, because where is Emrakul imprisoned right now?
Yeah, it's on Innistrad, the whole, I mean, it could possibly come up again.
But again, I asked for how. You got me.
Yeah. So what's yours, Stu?
So moving on to my number 3 here, and I know I'm about to debate with people about this one. It's the cycle lands, and I'm emphasizing the dual cycle lands. Sure, in Ikoria we got the tri-cycle lands, which is awesome. I'm glad that they came back to cycling. Kyle, not so much, but I'm thrilled that we got a little bit more of a flavor, an update with cycling on that, because I think it's something that is really good, it's really useful. But the difference between the tri to the dual is that the tris are limited where you can use them, whereas the duals are much more usable in many different decks. And the ones that we don't see printed are kind of needed. Like, Boros didn't get one.
Yeah,
and
that'd be nice.
And Boros kind of is still, like, sure, we got a couple legendaries that don't suck. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And we got 2 kind of recently.
3.
3.
All
right, sure. Yeah, exactly. I forgot the fox. Sorry. Beyond that, it needs a land that can both put the colors on. It can also draw cards and is tunable for having the basic land types without having to be an expensive card. Yeah. This is something budget players need. This is something that just, again, the tricolors could use more of these duels with it. Having the tri is nice. But again, it was an overstep, and I think they kind of missed their mark for it.
Yeah, I'm not super crazy about these lands. I don't think they're bad, certainly. I mean, they're a guild gate. that cycles,
It's
so
a
they're
better-
a little bit better. I'll take it.
With
you know.
a land type, it's a tech card, honestly. And like having a draw on a land, sometimes top decking lands stinks.
Exactly.
And this is the greatest way around
And
it.
they are dual lands, so I'll take them when I can get them. I don't really mind if they have other abilities. Normally my threshold for that is like just guild gates are not that good, but if they have that extra ability cycling tacked on, sure. I'll
Yeah,
probably give that
I need a
go.
little something else. I mean, even if it's a snow duel, I still kind of
Yeah.
need a little bit more than that.
Right.
But that's how I feel about these. It's not very something big or flashy, but it's just something I've been like crying out for myself personally for a while.
Oh, I know. I've heard it. So
Thanks.
Well, speaking of things that are big and flashy, I'm going to go with another cool cycle. Number 2 on my list are the God weapons from Theros. So you remember these, right?
I thought you were talking
the
about-
legendary artifact enchantments.
Yeah, I thought you actually meant like Godsend itself, actually.
Well, I mean, that's not. I mean, it technically could be considered one, I suppose. But this is, like Biden of Thassa, Whip of Erebos, and there was the hammer and the bow and the Spear of Heliod. So
Yeah.
there's those 5. So there were 5 god weapons for, one for each of the 5 monocolor gods, and they all had some kind of static ability and some kind of activated ability.
Sure.
So my question is, there were those 5 main gods got the weapons. There are 10 other Theros gods. Where are their multicolored god weapons? I want those.
All right, we've debated this a while ago, actually. It would be really cool to see this, both as like
Yeah, it would.
one, legendaries are awesome, and this
Yeah.
would be a definition of a legendary permanent. Also, enchantment and artifact base, I like having the dual types to it. It makes sense. They actually done a good bit for the game
Yeah.
and just versatility and vulnerability.
And pretty
which
much
is
all
great.
of them are pretty solid cards.
They're
Really.
decent. Like, they
Yeah.
actually do something, like, the static ability, like you said, always good. The added ability, sometimes you don't need it, but sometimes it works out very well.
Yeah.
Now, all 10 of them getting them, see, they've made 10 gods, so, like, for them having the space in the set to produce that
Well, right. That's
is
part
limited.
of why I don't think they've done it. Yeah, it would take over time.
It would, but also, I don't think all the gods have a weapon.
Yeah, but you gotta think outside the box in terms of these things. Like you're right, they don't all have like Athreos. A staff isn't really a weapon.
No, that can be used as a weapon.
Farika has she has potions maybe, poisons, potions. That could be something.
Okay.
Afara has this urn. It's not really a weapon, but that could potentially be a quote unquote god weapon.
Well, what's
they don't
Krufix
all
have?
have to be weapons.
Well, Krufix has got another pair of hands.
Well, Krufix, there's you could go different ways with it. I think his shroud might be the god weapon because his face is always shrouded.
I'm gonna do the
And for Phoenix, like his cloak, I mean,
well, some of them, yeah, there are.
You'd
the
have to
ones,
think outside the box.
There
a
are
little
ones
bit.
that definitely have like a definitive weapon on them, and I agree with you for that. And honestly, this would be a pretty cool cycle to see. Like, we are seeing like demigods and stuff like that, but we're not
Yeah.
seeing like the dual colored demigods. I think it's kind of like Wizards gets bold and then gets afraid, and then they get bold, and then they get super afraid. So I mean, who knows? But it would be really cool because I remember the first time we saw like legendary enchantment creature, legendary enchantment artifact.
Yeah.
It changed the game.
All the Theros gods are really cool.
They're super awesome.
Yeah.
But moving on to my number 2, if you don't mind,
No,
Kyle.
go ahead.
So my number 2 here is, again, it's probably going to be super debatable. But we're going to be looking back at the Mirage cycle for tutors. We had a Worldly Tutor, we had Mystic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Enlightened Tutor. What color is missing?
Red.
Red. And people kind of say that red got its tutor.
Gamble. Yeah, I think it's pretty much agreed that Gamble is the last
See,
installment.
I just think people gave up on asking. It's like one of those things, Dad can have a dog, Dad can have a dog, Dad can have a dog, and they get a goldfish and like, fine, I got a pet. It's not even close. So, and I stuttered on that
And
one.
look,
It's not even close. So anyway,
yeah.
before you go into that, I'm going to say what I would expect, right? So we've seen tutor ability for instants and sorceries. We've seen tutor ability for artifacts and enchantments. We've seen it for creatures.
Yeah.
And then we've seen black do its typical thing of find anything.
Anything. Yeah.
So what's missing? Lands and planeswalkers.
Right.
And so since the game's gotten updated enough and like there's actually another permanent type to it, I think Red could afford having a 1-drop instant speed tutor to the top of the deck of any land or any planeswalker.
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about red having good tutors in general. It just
needs,
feels unflavorful.
It needs a good tutor. It really does. And like honestly,
especially lands. I don't know about that.
Well, honestly, so green should have been creature or land, right?
Probably.
So the fact that it isn't touching that, I'm going to use that to my advantage and make it so the card's a little bit more scopeable.
Although red planeswalker, because like the reason that intrigues me is because red has actually, like, of all the colors that have done like planeswalker support cards, red might be the most.
Yeah.
Like, you have to think about it a little bit, because there are several that have been made, but like red has, like Planebound Accomplice. It's a sneak attack for planeswalkers.
Yeah.
You have Repeated Reverberation, which copies planeswalker abilities. So you have Chandra's Regulator, which also copies planeswalker abilities.
Well, for Chandra's
Chandra's. And yeah, so I don't know. Red might be the is red the planeswalker color? I don't know. I just never thought about that before. I still
think white is, because it's got the tutor ability with like the Call the Gatewatch or Ignite the Beacons and stuff like that.
Could it be red? Could that be red's thing? I don't know. Maybe.
See, again, like if you also look at like red commander planeswalkers, you see Doretti.
Yeah.
And like you see two. You see Teferi, which people hate, and you see Doretti. And Doretti's pretty fair for what it does. It can be powerful, works with synergies. It's probably one of like the more, I guess, second place ones.
Yeah, it's pretty fair, middle of the road kind of card. Yeah.
Yeah, for even the ones that we've seen in future, like Doretti is still playable. It is still viable. And so I think honestly, would it break the game? Probably not. And like, again, also possibly getting a land like mono red. What are you dealing with like that? You want a Valakut? Sure. Okay, that's not horrible.
Yeah, but that starts seeming like a problem to me.
It does. However, like red doesn't really have a lot of draw. They have impulse draw and looter type things. But again, like they'd have to dig and dig and dig and dig. I think honestly, sure, maybe lose the lands, make it a planeswalker.
Maybe.
Potentially. But like, all right, how does that sound fair to you guys? let us know down in the comments. Is that something you'd be like, that's fine? Like, actually, I don't think that breaks the game, or I'm missing something entirely. Let us know.
All right, interesting thought.
So your number one, Kyle, what do you got for us?
All right, well, my number one, and again, this is kind of out of the box for cycles, but I'm going to go with possible guild ascendancies. So, and the reason I say this is back a couple videos ago, we talked about this a few times.
I remember
Yeah, anyone remember Simic Ascendancy from not Return to Ravnica, the War of the Spark Block? Everyone remember that? You know, so the like Ravnica Allegiance, I think it was, where it came out. But yeah, so when I saw them spoil Simic Ascendancy, well, so there has been precedent, right? Back in Khans of Tarkir, there was a 3-color enchantment cycle called, the Ascendancies for every clan.
Yeah.
And they all had it. It was some kind of beneficial ability that went along with the style of the clan. And I thought it was really cool. Not all of them were great, but it was really cool. So then when I saw Simic Ascendancy, I was like, oh my god, they're making guild ascendancies. This is going to be great. And then this was the only one, and they never made one ever after that. And I was really, really let down. I was like, really? Come on, guys, you can't name it something like that and not expect me to want more. So, all that said, I think that they should complete this cycle and give every guild an Ascendancy enchantment. I really do.
So one, I'm going to just argue and say you can't complete a cycle if there's only one of them. However, I will give you the tricolored ones as a cop-out.
Yeah, and come on.
Say, like, finish the tricolored ones. Like, that'd be cool.
I mean, well, if you go back to the shards, I was thinking, like, Shards of Alara, like, you could do, Grixis Ascendancy, Naya Ascendancy, something like that. I'd buy that.
I think there is a Naya one. Like, it's not an Ascendancy.
Well, Mayal's Aria you're talking about.
Yeah, where it's like the amount of counters on something like that.
Something like that. Like, that would be cool. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, because like Simic Ascendancy is one of those auto win the game cards if you get to a certain threshold.
Yeah, I don't think you need a lot
Would giving
of those.
every guild a win the game card be a good idea? Probably not.
But a tricolored one, which is already kind of having a little bit of problems getting its mana turned on, trying to get the theme to work out, dealing with problems, having a board status, and then you throw in an Ascendancy for it. Again, some tricolors are a little bit more supported than others. However,
I still think it'd be pretty cool, like for example, like a Boros Ascendancy. So like if whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, it gets a counter on it or whatever, and then or something like that. But then if you like at any point, if you have like 3 or more combat phases in a row, you win the game. That'd be really cool.
No, Boros would be like, when you scoop the game, you win. When you scoop to lose, you win the game. That's like the Boros one right there. It's like, yeah, I lose. All right, I'll scoop right now.
You make them difficult to fulfill. I think it could be something that every guild had.
All right, I love how you say you want to make them difficult to fulfill, but you just said how fast you win with the Simic one.
Well, the Simic one is kind of an outlier because it plays around with counters, and that's very easily abusable.
It's not an outlier if it's the only one, Kyle. It doesn't make any sense what you're talking about. I'm going to be the one saying it to you, and I can't believe it. Words have meaning.
Well, I just don't get why would you call it what it is unless you were going to complete a cycle? Come on, man. Like, you can't do that to me. I'm just saying.
We did a poll before, so I'm not doing a poll now. Just leave a direct comment down below to Kyle saying literally on his piece for
saying
this.
How right I am and how much you agree with
how
me.
He needs to stop talking about this, please. For the sake of me, at the very least. I need it.
All right, well, what's your number one then?
My number one is probably something else you're not going to care for. It is the Lair Lands. I would like them.
Not this.
Yeah, I was right. Kyle hates them. So these right here are tri-bounce lands, and they are better than the the dual bounce lands because the land that it returns to the hand doesn't have to be tapped. So
are they though? Are they really?
I'm gonna read the card, and then I'll go into it, and then you can give me a lot of nonsense. All right. So we'll look at a card here like Drummar's Cavern. So it's a land, when it comes, this is a lair in addition to its other land type, all right? Kind of relevant, kind of not. When it comes into play, sacrifice it unless you return a non-lair card you control to its owner's hand. Since there's only 5 of these, it's pretty easy for you not to do that. And it goes ahead and it taps for 1 of 3 colors. So it doesn't come into play tapped. You return a land card to your hand, which also works with synergies right there. It works for tricolored. Now, these are aligned with the Elder Dragon colors. So if you know your Elder Dragons, like a Nicol Bolas, well, that's the only one I know, to be honest.
Actually, these weren't necessarily related to those dragons. These were the invasion dragons. So like like it says, like Croesus, Dromar, the Rith the Awakener, those dragons.
So I stand corrected. But however, we are missing a little bit more, and then this cycle is complete. And especially with us getting a touch up on some of these new these tri-color combinations getting more support, what's a better spot to start at than this? These are budget-friendly options to go ahead and make it so that crazy stuff can happen with ETBs, works with land triggers, and it doesn't break the bank. Like, that's the whole way to kind of try to bring people into these tricolors, right? You got to make it so it's affordable, it's ideal, and a land base is kind of the thing that's the most expensive of a deck.
Yeah, but I'm going to say it, though. These lands are just bad. They just are. And I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, wait. Tell me why, Kyle.
Because you were talking about those 2-color bounce lands, right?
Yeah,
the reason I would not use those in a deck, but the reason they are not totally terrible is because they give you 2 mana for the price of 1. So when you think about it, playing one of them doesn't really in the long term put you behind on mana. These do, because it's a 1-for-1 trade, 1 mana for 1 mana. And it puts you behind an entire turn on your land drops. Why would you ever want that?
Because it doesn't.
But it does.
All right, ready? You tap the land you bounce and then put it in your hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the same thing for the duel, right? So each one has 1 mana floating.
Right.
Okay, yours enters tapped, mine enters untapped.
Yes, but you just lost an entire turn of land play.
How did I lose a turn when I played it?
Because the one goes out, 1 comes in. The other one, it's basically like 2 are coming in.
I get what you're saying with that. And honestly, you're right to a degree if you are all
absolutely
about...
right.
No, to a degree, because if you care about untapping lands...
You're the math major, it's basic math.
It is basic math. However, both of them work for a form if you're trying to get a turn 2 discard. They both go ahead and return something you have over amount in your hand. Both play to that thing. Only thing is, when do you want the mana? Do you want the mana the turn you play it, or do you want it the following turn? And that's the difference there. Because typically, if you need 1 more mana to go ahead and play, I don't know, a Signet or anything else like that, you'd have to wait till the following turn with the duel versus the tri.
I just don't think these lands are that great. I really don't.
Really?
I
You were
can't get
very
over,
subtle.
I know. I can't get over the whole putting you behind an entire turn thing. That's just even for an untapped tri-land. That's just unforgivable card disadvantage.
Right. However, it does enable all your colors right off the bat, which is usually an expensive card. You need your Tarn Citadels, your command towers, all these other things.
Oh, good. So it's good on the first turn and then never again after that.
You're missing the point, Kyle. Mana fixing with a simple drop of 1 land is very nice.
And
the
putting
guy
you behind for the rest of the game, I don't know. I'm just not sold on it. I'm really not.
You ever heard of land tax?
Of course I have.
Okay. Well, you pay the government money on the tax. No, pretty much what it is it lowers your land cap to do something like that. So if you are caring about something like this, ETBs of lands, yada, yada, yada.
I would rather play a tapped tri-land than these. Always. In every situation.
And this is why we have different forms of mana bases,
I guess
Kyle.
it is. So,
hi everyone.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad were arguing for a second. Sorry about that. It got weird. That is going to wrap up our cycle for what we're talking about now. So that is our cycle of stuff that we would like to see finished.
Yeah.
Now, there are many other things out there that people can pick and argue and love to hear more about it down below in the comments or anywhere else. You can reach out to any form of us on social media.
Please do. We're on Reddit. We're on Tapped Out with all our deck lists. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. And you can find us at all of them at the handle TheCardPool.
And please let us know how you feel about the ones that we mentioned or anything else that's in between. And if we're wrong, be sure to let us know. We have no problem with it. But until then, be also sure to check out our link in the description down below. We are affiliated with TCG Player. It lets them know that, hey, you like what we do and they support us because of it. So before you go ahead and shop, close out of your carts, especially with Double Masters coming out, people are probably going to be buying some stuff. Before you go ahead and hit confirm buy, click on the link below and then do it and it lets them know. But until then, he's wrong. I'm Stu.
And I'm Kyle, and he's wrong.
And we'll see you next time at the card pool.
No, you're wrong.
Dude, honestly, we have to teach you how to build mana bases.
Oh my god, you are just, ugh, really.